I had a good job, and I actually gave up the job to become entrepreneur. And I'm from the East, and here, chakri is a big thing. You need to have a good job and all that. So when I said, yeah, so when I said that, okay, I'm going to give up my job and I'm going to become an entrepreneur now, my father-in-law said, okay, hey, look, I'm going to take my daughter back. That was one. Over the last 3 years or so, I've been sort of fiddling around with technology a lot, so much so that now I have a threat from my wife that if you keep on fiddling with your phone, I'm going to leave you this time for sure. So I'm here to actually prove that point to my wife that I'm not dumb. But having said that, we've used a lot of technology in two ways. One, like Saroo said, that he actually goes through internet to find about each and everything. That's, of course, made a tremendous difference in our lives. Medical science, for that example, has made giant leaps. But we ourselves, because I studied architecture and then set up a business where we said that you don't actually, architect should not design. And we did this by using technology. We are actually building homes in factories now just by Lego blocking. So Lego blocks which are produced in factories, they're put together on site, and this is all computer controlled. You scan and you actually eliminate project management completely. So it's tremendous. I mean, it's a tool, like the topic is, it's as good as IT can be.
No, because I mean, for me, what's really fascinating is that the insidious way in which the internet creeps up on you from every angle. Like when I wrote the first book, which was 12 years ago, a lot of the research was done by kind of wandering around the British Museum with a notepad and a pen and a lot of reading things from inscriptions and doing actual legwork. But now, as you can, I mean, I was actually thin then. And then now you can research entire books, you can research entire everything without leaving your chair. And I realized how sickeningly internet dependent I had become when 3 monkeys broke into my flat in Delhi. And the first thing I did was I went on Google and said how to scare monkeys away. After locking myself in, because I went out and there were 3 fairly large monkeys approaching me with fairly meaningful expressions. I Googled, and then the internet told me. So of course there was the first wave of trolls which said, just go out and run at them, and they'll be scared, they'll run away, and which would have meant instant death. So you never believe what the internet tells you at first. But if you look harder, you will find everything you need. And so, I often have to write down sort of where I'm living right now. But the truth is that we're all living in a world where at least part of our minds is permanently stationed in the internet. And when I look around at you lot, the thing is, you also grew up in a post-broadband universe. You don't know what the sound means, where everyone on stage knows.
Can you do it from the last century? Yeah.
Can you do it again?
So what's happened now is, and especially if you're talking about school people from Kolkata, when we used to go to sort of Delhi and Bombay to do debates and things like that, we'd always feel that we were sort of less connected, and we kind of knew less, and we were less smart because they all knew each other from X club and somebody's father's an industrialist somewhere else. But we would win because we read books, But now the young people I meet from Kolkata they know amazing amounts of sort of trendy, what's current things that they didn't when they were our age. And you grew up in Australia. Was there a similar growth process there, or was it more sort of has it changed as drastically there, or?
Oh, it's definitely changed. Like we're so consumed by the internet and the information that we can find on there, but we're doing things now in Australia that is very unorthodox, but there are people that also sort of use the internet for finding information, and some that also refer to books and stuff like that too. So I think the internet is just going to be taking over. We're so consumed about it, as I said before, that we rely on it a lot, and it's probably not a really good thing for some people who are sort of almost glued to their iPhones or onto the computer or the laptop or something like that. It's probably physically it's not good for the body, because we are humans, and humans are meant to be walking around and seeing things. So I'm not too sure how we sort of combat that, because parents and all that are always saying, go outside or play a sport or something like that. But in Australia, it seems to be that, damn it, I can't get the internet, or there's no Wi-Fi, or, people start getting crabby, and it's like, to people like us, well, it doesn't really matter. We'll get it when we get it. But to others in the earlier generations, they're just, or the later generations, they're very sort of reliant on it. And so, I think there's quite a bit of negativity in that sort of situation. So,
No, yeah.
Can I ask a question? All to three of you. Do you feel like Saroo's thing reminded me that everybody's looking for how to be connected at any given point in time. And they have I know a lot of people who've got very rich lives in Facebook and Twitter, tons of friends. They write HMMM and they get 220 likes. They say burp, and then you get like whatever, 170 maybe likes, So it's almost like it makes you feel that you are so plugged in with the rest of the universe that, that you have this trooper friends who are going to follow you around everywhere you go, like whether you're going to a nightclub or... now my question is, does that reflect in real life? Because Australians, I know, I've never been, but I've known a few Aussies. They're generally quite outgoing type people, sporty, outgoing, healthy outlook, casual attitude type people. Assamese people are the Australians of India, as you know, so equally outgoing, healthy attitude, sporting.
So essentially,
does the is it compromised? I mean, by being totally online, does your social
absolutely.
life...
And in fact, in Parthajeet's case, that's something I actually want him to discuss, which is that, see, like you said, the internet creates this illusion that you are loved and cared for and protected, right? You put up a selfie, 1,500 people come and like it, 500 because it then gives them an excuse to immediately put up a selfie of themselves, right? So, it doesn't have any bearing on real life, in the sense your offline friends are your offline friends and your online friends are your online friends. What this whole attention economy thing is also doing is it creates, say, in writers and people who are not, say, part of a larger system but kind of dependent on their own sort of, work to be judged and loved by an outside audience. It creates these tremendous insecurities, which is why I'm sure all your Facebook feeds are full of really spammy writers, who are constantly doing these self-promotion things, which and the sort of margin for tolerable behavior is getting lower and lower every day. So since your first book is coming out in an age where everyone around you, all the other writers you meet, are constantly filling the internet with their every thought, so to speak, and are sort of creating these self-sustaining communities of mutual liking where no one's actually buying the books, but everyone's just discussing things endlessly. How do you cope?
I'm glad that Facebook has finally decided to have a dislike button now, so that's a positive. But when I was a kid, when I was your age, I mean, when I used to be hungry, I would eat. I would not, call up my friends 300 kilometers away and say, hey, I'm going to eat. This is what I'm going to eat. I'll take a photo and send it to you. And if you like it, please call me back. So today, it's all sort of encompassing, this whole, about Snowden, right? And he said that if you're online today, can I say that? Uncle Obama can actually know where you are and what you're doing. So all those guys who actually have a phone on, they're probably tracking you. So the whole thing is that, that our whole lives are up for sale. Used to, when I would want to watch a match, my dad would stand in a queue and would buy a ticket, and next day would go and watch the match, say India-Pakistan match. Today, if you want to watch a match, you can imagine. I mean, there are 200 ways to buy the tickets. You go online, and while you're buying the ticket, you're offered all sorts of things. And then you go to the stadium, IPL for example, everything is up for sale. So I feel that in our lives today, there's no sense of privacy, and almost every aspect of our life is up for sale. Maybe Saroo can reflect on that, and maybe, I don't know, I guess you must be liking or disliking some parts of your life as it has changed over the last 2 to 3 years.
No, I mean, this actually leads very nicely into something that Sarnath and I were talking about before, which is also that, you know, the internet is like this, really this alternate reality that you bring everything you have in this world into. And it's also causing, say, people's tastes and what they see and what they like and means of communicating to change at a pace that it never has before. I mean, internet language is its own thing now. You either speak Twitterese or you don't. You know, Reddit has its own language, and even every sort of large community on the internet has specific words that originate from it. Now, Sarnath, as someone who, I mean, you know, the one thing that sort of gives you a universal language is if you move beyond text to things like image and music and sound and video and things like that, right? And as we proceed in time, we're also seeing that communication is becoming more visual than it has ever been before, in the sense that fewer people forget the interest, even the capacity to read a long piece of text without, you know, just completely getting distracted in a second. So I remember from your Olympics project, right, and the way that you put that up, say, in the street for people to look at. There's a lovely gallery that he'd done of losers, of people who hadn't won medals in the Olympics, and specific moments in time and the thoughts that were going through their head as they were losing or about to lose. And of course that spread on the internet very quickly, and everyone you knew came and gave you some of those 700 likes that you were complaining about a second ago. But how, say, would a graphic novelist evolve from pen and paper to perhaps a new form of storytelling on the internet? Is it the same work but just applied to a new medium, or is there actually a whole other kind of thought that goes into it? Because I know I write differently when I'm writing a book, when I'm writing a tweet, when I'm writing, you know, depending on the audience and the scale of where even a sentence is going out, it's a different sentence. How does that apply to image?
See, it's unnecessary and it's probably pointless to become very quickly very cynical about something, and one has to try to see whether something nice can come out of this democraticness of internet. The fact that now you don't have to be in somewhere else to know about something. Everybody gets to know everything all at the same time, whether he's from Purulia or at the Outbacks or in Scotland or in Berlin. Everybody has access to that. So that kind of, you know, having your finger lightly on the pulse of the world, so to say, is a good thing. Yeah. Of course, if I say that's not good, that's like going against progress. Now, of course, and then you very rightly mentioned about this cult of narcissism that has been legitimized by Twitter and Facebook, because before, particularly among Bengalis also in Calcutta, it was not very nice to constantly to brag about yourself, because it was like, look, nobody really liked people bragging about themselves, and I think you grow up understated because of that, because it's part of your education, it's part of your sort of, you know, upbringing, that you're not, you rather hope someone else is going to talk about, but then there's no someone else, everybody else is only talking about themselves. So which is where this whole cult of so yeah, I quite agree with you that this is overtaken people. I don't really understand why people take their profile pictures every hour, but I'm sure there must be a need for that, and there might be a justification for doing something like that.
It's like almost attention, sort of, you know.
It is an attention, yeah, but we've legitimized it.
No, but you know, there's also a sense, I mean, many of my dearest friends who I do not judge are compulsive selfie takers, and there's also a sense of the people want this. So the same sort of impulse that makes someone, say, write a book or make a film, now you can achieve that same validation by putting out a tweet that gets a lot of
You don't really need the book. Actually, if you just work around everything around the book, it's like the artist more important than the art. And it's no, I didn't say it, like I think Michelangelo or someone rather old said it many years back. So I'm just saying that yes, the cult of the personality is coming up. Except it's also diluting, as you said, that everybody's doing that, so you have to be particularly good to do that, which also requires skill. Now, once we go beyond all that, there must be something so powerful, must be offering something, and that's a constant challenge. So now, say one of the students here might tomorrow want to like look at Calcutta, like you did this fantastic project called Local Monsters, right? You looked at the city, you looked at all the stereotypes that the city would produce, and you made them into monsters, which makes looking at your city very interesting. It's not like boredom, it's not banal. It's just that beneath all this, you don't need to like create a Hogwarts. It's all around you. So what I'm trying to say, you can actually have that idea and you can circulate that through the medium quite easily. You can be your own publisher, own publicist. You could do that. But I'm just saying that the thought that comes, you can use the internet to do the medium, but the thought itself usually happens outside internet, when you have time to get bored. It's a very nice argument that you place, that a generation that does not get bored anymore. Being bored was an amazing thing. I mean, we hated it that time, but if you remember all your past, you'll remember the times that you were bored more vividly.
No, you also actually had time to do this thing called thinking, which has really gone out of style now because you're constantly looking for the next thing on your app. We sound so old, by the way.
I am quite old, actually.
Listen, it's 12:15 now. So if you guys have questions which I asked you a long time ago, yeah, go for it.
But being old is not bad.
No, it's good.
Yeah. My question is, you spoke about how like you can sit at home and do research about a book, but like the reality of today is like you can actually go and get the book by sitting at home. Like you can download an illegal PDF or something like that. So my question is, especially for people like for authors like Saroo or like novelists, like graphic novelists like you, the thing is that in today's, like I'm a big fan of this thing called Japanese manga. Okay, and the thing is that like every week, like these Japanese weekly magazines, they publish comics. And what these people do is, these people scan these comics, they translate it, and they put them up on the internet. So the thing is that like it gets a broader fan base in countries like India or like any other countries which are outside of Japan, basically. Yeah. So these titles get a wider fan base. But the thing is that if you're a publisher and you see your works being put up on the internet like this, it's illegal. So what do like the people, the authors, the artists themselves feel about something like this? Because although you're getting a larger fan base, like it's not something you'd want, right?
Right. Essentially, views on piracy. Yeah. No, speaking for myself, I love it because as a reader or a viewer, it means that your generation, especially, is so much more educated than ours. Because like Tublu would take 5 years, I think, to come from Ohio, as in your previous example, and so we never knew what was happening in the world outside, right? So say something like manga and anime and things like that, we just didn't get. I mean, even say when I started writing a fantasy book 12 years ago, simply did not have access to read other books apart from, say, a Tolkien or a Terry Pratchett, but the wider world, no. Now, sort of 7 books and 6 graphic novels later, I know what's happening everywhere in the world, who's bringing out what book, what's interesting, what's going to happen. And piracy has played a large part in that, So, as an author, if I see my work is getting pirated, of course, I'm losing out on some money, but I'm also reaching a far wider audience. And it also gives you a sense that you've arrived, Because if you're worth being pirated, that's great. When you see, if I get for an individual book sold, I get some 20, 25 rupees. Certainly worth that feeling to see that it's there on the pirate thing and on torrents and so on. What do you guys feel?
I don't really know much about books being sort of pirated, but I suppose it could be in some ways. They're only in PDF format. But Yeah, I mean, it would be sort of a decrease on the bottom line of, you know, when the pay packet comes in. But, you know, in some ways you're also establishing yourself out to the world as well, not just within the country that you've published your book. So
See, and
in some ways it's a bad thing.
See,
in some
also
ways
the
it's a
thing
good
is
thing.
that these, say, publishers or large studios, they're perfectly able to stop torrents coming out, right? Because if you can find a torrent, they can find it too. They don't, because, say, Marvel and DC and comics publishers like that realize that what the torrents are doing for them is establishing their global fan base. So as soon as they find the right way to deliver to fans, fans will pay for it, and then those torrents will stop. Yeah. Yeah.
I have a question for all of y'all, especially for Saroo. There's a phrase that says the internet is the mother of all lies. And what would your opinion on that phrase be, especially Saroo, because you use the internet, you use Google to find out the place where you were from and also to find out your family and relatives. So how do you know that the information that you get on the internet is correct? And what is your opinion on the phrase?
Well, that's a very good question, actually, and I was hoping someone would say that, so I'm prepared. But you're right. It's like you could see something or read about something, but you know the integrity of it. It's like, well, is it true or not, or is it somebody's blog that's